sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we're soon claiming victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. Winning woods is where we landed. We're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Winning woods is where we landed. We're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. Winning woods is where we landed. We're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Winning woods is where we landed. We're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory.
Good morning / afternoon / extra morning. Depends on where you're at. But welcome back to Unplugged Unfiltered.
Right now in Hawaii, you're still in bed.
Yes, you're still in bed, but that's okay,
That's okay.
Because you're in Hawaii, so you actually don't need to hear what we're saying.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're in Hawaii.
You're on island time at that point. It's like when we're at the lake, right? We're on lake time.
Lake
It
time.
doesn't really matter what time you wake up or what time you go to bed. But today is a fun podcast, something that Bob and I are very passionate about, and we've dealt a lot. But before we get into that, I have to have a huge shout out to Joelle over at Nutcase. They sent us a bunch of Nutcase to try. If you haven't heard of Nutcase, Nutcase is a cashew milk. It's basically chocolate milk, vanilla milk, and strawberry milk that is healthy for you, so you can indulge and not feel bad, but also feel that nostalgia of drinking chocolate milk. So
there you go.
So what we're going to do is we are going to try it live for you guys and give our honest reactions to it. So hopefully they're good, because if not,
if they're not,
well,
you know me well enough to know if it sucks, I'll go like, yeah, I grew up on a dairy farm. That doesn't taste like cow milk.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't taste like cow milk.
It should
but,
not.
It's cashew milk. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
All right, which one are you going to try?
We're going to try chocolate. I'm going to try chocolate chaos first.
All
so
right,
this
hang
is,
on for me. Let me get this
again,
opened up here.
Nutcase. And one of the things, and I have to say this as we try this, Joelle's story is really, really cool. So, you know, she started making Nutcase during COVID just for herself. And by blending cashews, by blending cocoa and dates. I got to try it. I have yet to try it. So.
Yeah, okay. I could go back to drinking chocolate milk with this.
Oh, yeah.
This is awesome.
That is.
Okay, that's good.
That is fire. That
Okay,
is really, really good.
You know, and so you can continue on the story. I'm going to do vanilla next.
Yeah. But so she did it just for herself, and it really kind of took off. And she ended up at brunch in Las Vegas with some of her poker friends.
As all of us do.
Yeah, that's all of us do.
You know,
and
Vegas, go to brunch with your poker friends.
Yes. And from there, they all tried it and they all loved it, and they had some amazing buy-in. But here's the thing that I really love about Joelle's story, you know, is she didn't start with a pitch deck. She didn't start with a business plan. She started with a process. Vitamix, 3 ingredients, and a system that she refined until it was right. And that process is what brought some of her incredible investors and even her co-founder in. And her co-founder is Ninja, one of the most recognizable names in gaming. She also brought Phil Hellmuth, which I don't know, has won more World Series of Pokers than anybody. I think 17.
Is he good at poker?
He's done okay, better than me. I could promise that. But brought all of these people together, and through that has grown an incredible brand and the product. I mean, I've only just tasted the chocolate.
We're gonna get ready to do vanilla.
Yeah, I'm gonna try the vanilla right now, and see how it is.
Oh, that is nice. I love that flavor.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
That vanilla churro, you can taste the cinnamon in it.
It is
It is
really good.
And the crazy part about this, so
these are healthy. That's the crazy part.
They are. I mean, that's the thing with the cashews.
I should feel guilty.
I know,
but I don't, because they're healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's super hydrating. So packed with key electrolytes, cashews, super loaded with healthy fats. It says that it's clean AF, clean as fuck, if you didn't know what that meant. No dairy, no lactose, no oils, no artificial bullshit. And brain health, antioxidants that help support your brain.
Dear God, I need that.
We both need that. If you've ever watched our episodes, you could be like, you guys need to drink a case of that.
Or what are you going to try next? I'm going to do the Japanese strawberry.
That's the next one. And if you guys follow Nutcase, so it's Drink Nutcase on all of their social medias. If you follow them, you'll know that the chocolate one is by far Ninja's favorite. So Ninja drinks the chocolate one all the time, drinks it on his live stream all the time. This Japanese strawberry one was specifically asked for by Steve Aoki, an incredible DJ. So we're going to have to try this and see if Steve Aoki knows what he's talking about. And
oh yeah.
Yeah, those are dangerous.
That is awesome.
They are so good. So
I'll be finishing these as we go through the podcast.
Oh, I'm going to be drinking all of those as we go through the podcast.
Those are great.
But again, it's just such a cool story. It's been awesome to be able to connect with Joe throughout. Started off in LinkedIn, and we've just kind of grown it. And she said that she'd be more than happy to make some time to come and join us on the podcast. But
if you've never tried it, this is awesome.
Yeah, you've got to try it. Right now, I think
it's
like
an adult,
oh yeah,
not adult and alcohol content, but adult.
It is an adult beverage that's healthy,
really good.
Yeah. So, anyways, super huge shout out to Nutcase, because delicious. Love the story. Love all of their marketing, because when it comes down to it, and everybody who watches knows that we're a massive fan of Liquid Death. We drink a lot of Liquid Death.
Too much Liquid Death.
But with that being said, this is the milk version of Liquid Death, and it's fucking awesome. So love what you're doing.
It's great.
But with that, again, it all started with a process. It all started with just her making this for herself as a process. And Bob, you've walked through thousands of businesses over the 40 years.
Because I'm old.
Yes, you are. You are. What is the one thing that you find almost every failing business is failing at?
Ownership.
Yes. Yes. Customer
no,
service.
It's not customers. We were just talking about this before we came on. I've been on meetings all mornings with dealers, a couple groups up in Canada, and then some down in Alabama and Georgia. And the last one I was on before I came into the studio here was I was talking to the owner, whose husband just recently passed away. So she's always been involved in the business. So it was a tragedy, kind of a sudden thing. But they have a salesperson now that she's working on growing into a general manager.
Yeah.
As she goes through and does it. And we were just talking this morning actually, and he goes like, well, what's the one thing I need to do to keep this business from failing?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you need to take ownership, not ownership of stock in it, but you need to take ownership of what winning looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the challenges that I find as I work with dealers is they don't really understand what winning looks like. They don't understand what winning looks like in the service department. They don't understand what winning looks like in the parts department, or even the sales department. They know numbers, but what does winning look like?
Yeah.
And he said, well, how do I define winning? I go, it's through your processes.
Absolutely.
I said, the thing you've got to do, and this is the thing that I tell every business owner to do, is you've got to go crazy and get your processes in place.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have processes, because processes define winning.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like, as I was telling Ben, who was on my meeting this morning, and he played football some in high school, a little bit in college. And I said, so when you were an athlete and you're playing sports, football specifically, and the coach designed a play. I said, so what was the play? What was the purpose of designing the play? And he goes, well, so we could hopefully score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I said, so you knew that winning looked like a touchdown.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said, so what was the play? And he goes, I don't know, a play. And I go, the play was the process.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is what we have to do as a football team. If we run this process and we run it correctly, and everybody does what they're supposed to do in the process, we will score either a first down or a touchdown or whatever. We will move the ball forward, whatever it is. And I said, that's what you have to understand. So in your service department, you define what winning looks like by having a process. Okay. In the parts department, you define what winning looks like by having a process. Same thing in sales. So that to me is really the key to it.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said, you create the process, and then you got to coach your people to the process.
Absolutely. Well, and again, processes, I mean, they are winning, right? If you can create a repeatable process that's very easy to follow, you can win every single time. I don't want to say every single time, but the majority of the time. And the times that you don't win, you're able to go through the process and say, where was the breakdown?
That's it. That's exactly.
Where did we fall short? This guy didn't guard the right person.
Damn it, Bob, you didn't block that guy, and he got the quarterback. Okay, that wasn't a part of my play.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you're exactly right. So it doesn't mean that the process works all the time, every time. But if you have a process, it's easy then to go back and see, okay, what went wrong?
Yeah,
right? And that's what happens in. I'll use football as an example. They practice and practice and practice the process during off season.
Yeah,
right, or summer camp.
Yeah.
And then they go put they've got the coach has a whole list of processes.
Yeah.
Each one is unique. Each one of them is designed to advance the ball forward at some level.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they decide based upon what's going on in that moment, which one of those processes they're going to put on the field.
Absolutely.
And the guys have practiced the process over and over and over again. I mean, that's what I told him. I said, the mistake that you make is, you say, okay, well, this is what our process is. And then you don't ever go practice the process with them, right? They don't do that in football. You run that play 1,000 times before you ever actually go to a game.
Yeah.
And you're constantly getting everybody to where it's just muscle memory.
Yeah, absolutely.
This we know what to do there. So anyway, but that to me, again, failure in dealerships that I work with, in almost all cases, and I always hate to say this, especially on here, because we probably have some dealers on here too. But it goes back to the owner.
Yeah.
If a business fails, it's not because of the employees. If a business fail, it's because of the owner. And the owner never took the time to create processes that his people could follow to show them what winning looked like.
Yeah.
And again, I think that to me is the biggest thing. I think about, probably, there's a couple of good examples of businesses that are masters at process. We talk about Chick-fil-A a lot.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is the master of process.
Yeah.
And they know that winning is making the customer have a great experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's winning in their process. If the customer walks away and goes, this is good chicken, but I love coming in.
Yeah.
Where we look at McDonald's, and McDonald's has got great processes in place, but McDonald's goal is not to have you walk out going, this is the greatest food I've ever had. McDonald's is, this was really fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that McDonald's food's not good food. I love a good quarter pounder with cheese. I'm just saying again, but they both have processes, built in different ways.
Yeah.
But both of them define what winning is. You go to McDonald's, you walk in, you'll see a timer back there by the drive-through.
Yeah.
They're trying to get this food in and out in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Because their whole process, winning to them, is the speed that you were able to get the food out.
Yeah.
Where again, Chick-fil-A's got they get it out quickly, but their winning in their process looks a little bit different than
absolutely. Well, it's always their pleasure.
But I love both of their foods. So.
Exactly.
Well, almost as good as nutcase.
I would say I'll take a nutcase over a quarter pounder with cheese.
I take it with a quarter pounder of cheese.
There we go. Yeah. That's it. If we can just get that collab, that would be awesome.
Exactly.
But we had a comment come in, and this comment came in on LinkedIn, and it's exactly what you were saying. Ownership equals understanding all of the areas of the business first.
Yes.
Right. If you don't know the play, let's take Patrick Mahomes, for example, right?
Fair quarterback, decent quarterback.
Decent.
We love him in Kansas.
He knows what he has to do.
Exactly.
But he also knows what all of his his receivers are doing or what his
Exactly.
running backs doing.
Exactly.
He's taking ownership and understanding every area of the business. And I think Andy Reid exactly the same, right? He has his play sheet, but he understands every aspect of what does our defense need to do? What does the opponent need to do?
Exactly.
And the opponent in the case of business is not necessarily an opponent, but what is the customer looking for? Well, how do I deliver the product to the customer? And how do I move my people, move my processes so it matches that, so we score, so we don't fail.
Yeah. And I think that's the challenge you have today in business. I mean, I work with dealerships. The one I met with this morning was up in Rockford, Illinois, very first thing this morning at 7:00. And they've been in business for, I don't know, 60 years.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm working with them on is what their customer was 60 years ago is not the same customer they have today.
It's not?
It's not. No, they're all their customers that were 60 years ago are dead.
Yeah.
Okay. The customers they have today are real lifestyle-ish type customers.
Yeah.
They're outside of Chicago. A lot of their customers also are organic farmers that sell food into the restaurants into Chicago.
Yeah.
So as we were talking about that, I said, the customer experience that you need to deliver today is not the same customer experience that you need to deliver 5 or 6 years ago. The challenge is your processes are still built for the same process, the same thing that the customer that was coming in 5 or 6 years ago, you didn't change your processes to upgrade to what the customer expectations are today.
Yeah.
They go like, well, we call the customer when their equipment's ready. Customers today want to be texted, not called.
Yeah.
And they want to be texted about every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's an update. It's an update. I said, I understand that worked back then. And that was the thing, so they say, well, we've got processes. And I said, you do, but your processes were built for the customer that was 5, 6, 7 years ago, and you have to go back in and refine your process.
Yeah.
Because they call it a process, not a finished product.
Yeah.
Because the processes are constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And I think the mistake that I see businesses make is they're not noticing that the customer experience is evolving, and they have to go back and refine their processes to adapt to that new customer experience.
Yeah. Well, and so with that, my question to you is, why do owners push back on this? Every owner listening, they need it and still have not done it. What is the real reason that?
Hell, it's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. I can tell you that. I mean, I've had my business for 40 years. It requires, the first thing it requires is for me to change.
Yeah.
Okay. And I always tell people, the only person that likes change is a wet baby.
Yeah.
Even owners don't like to change. They're in a rhythm. They're in a, thing. You ask any manufacturer, and we've got some manufacturers on there. And when they tell owners they need to do something new to help their business, the first thing owners are going to do is, well, what the hell do you know about my business?
Yeah.
Right? You're a manufacturer. Well, they actually know quite a bit about your business.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They work with a lot of you out there, and they're not just picking stuff randomly out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
They've got dealer advisory councils and stuff like that. So I tell people, again, all the manufacturers are trying to do constantly is to try to get their dealers to change how they think based upon the new information that's coming in.
Yeah.
And any one of the manufacturers that's on here will go like, oh my God, Bob, that's almost impossible. And I go, yeah, it is. That's why you bring in a consultant.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my world.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, I mean, and that was something that I dealt with so much is, going into businesses and convincing them that they need to change. And one of the things that I found, and this kind of will get into the next question I have for you, but one of the things that I found is when people are part of creating the process, it's easier for them to change because it's their idea. Now, I think one of the things and one of the areas where we saw processes be created with a little bit of resistance, but people were very, very open mind to it was during COVID.
Yes.
Because COVID, you could not change your processes.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you wanted
whatever
to
processes you had,
if you wanted to open your doors, you had to adjust your processes on how you did everything. And people go, oh, I had to do it out of necessity. I had to do it to keep my doors open. And yes, you did it for that reason. But if you don't constantly change, tweak, upgrade, smooth out your processes, you're going to basically live in that, I'm going to shut the door every single day. You have to constantly be refining every aspect of it. But how do you get to the point of building a process?
Well, the first thing you do, again, you have to observe what you're actually doing. So this is where you have, let's say I had a parts manager and we don't have a parts process.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd ask my parts manager, when you come in first thing in the morning, what's the very first thing you need to do? Well, I got to get here a little bit early. And if you're in a dealership, if you open at 7, you'll already have customers at your door at 6:30.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if you think, well, I'm going to come in 15 minutes early. Yeah, you need to be there about 45 minutes early and come in the back door and keep the lights off until you're ready to open.
Yeah.
And everybody that understands dealerships know what I'm talking about here. So I said, the first thing you have to do is just say, okay, well, what's the first thing we have to do? Well, the first thing we have to do is, I don't know, we have to open up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, but the first thing we have to do is we have to get our cash drawer ready.
Yeah.
Because if you go open the door and your computers are not turned on and your cash drawer is not ready and stuff like this, you're going to have people come in and you're not ready to open up.
Yeah.
So the first thing you do is not unlock the door. And they go like, oh, okay. So I said, so now thinking about it, what's the first thing we have to do? Well, we got to get our computers turned on.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a great starting
Yeah.
point, because everything you do today, somehow you're going to interact with your dealer management system or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing you have to do. And you say, but that's not really the first thing you have to do. You have to get the lights turned on.
Yeah.
Okay. And people are like, well, everybody knows that. Well, that's fine, but it's still a part of your process.
Absolutely.
And so I always tell people to do. So what you do is you just, as a manager, you take whoever's running the department and you literally just continue to ask them questions. Say, okay, well, let's write that down.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is we unlock the door and we turn the lights on.
Yeah.
Where are the lights at? So if I'm a brand new employee and I come in and you say, hey, I want you to come in early, Bob, here's the key to the door. I want you to come in and open up, right? Well, first of all, okay, I got a key to the door. That's great. And then the next thing is I turn the lights on. Well, where do I do that?
Yeah.
Is there a panel? And so again, so you have to think about it as if I'm taking somebody and teaching somebody that doesn't know anything about it, nothing about it.
Yeah.
Step by step by step, what do we do? And the easiest way to do that, again, is just to work with whoever's running that department, service manager, parts manager, whatever, and then just continue to ask them questions and boil it down to the basics. Okay, the first thing we got to do is hike the ball.
Yeah.
Well, how are we going to know when to hike it? Well, in this particular play, when I say hut, run like hell,
Yeah. Yeah.
ball's coming in my hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they even have that already set up. So they all know in that play, this is the magic's going to happen unless the quarterback comes up with an audible or whatever.
Yeah.
But then that's the change in the quarterback, because they're the boss.
Yeah.
At that point,
Absolutely.
they make the change there. But I think that's where it starts at, is don't you create it. And to your point, Brian, the easiest way to make a process stick is to have the people who are doing the process help build the process.
Yeah.
Because now they've got ownership in it. So it's not
Absolutely.
me telling you anymore. Okay. It's me walking you through this and letting them know that, say, okay, well, so we're going to do this process tomorrow. Okay. And I'm going to be here early with you. And then at the end of the morning, we're going to walk through, how did that process actually work? Oh, well, when we were doing it, we forgot about this.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's a process.
Absolutely.
Right? We're just building it out. So that's what I would do if it were me.
Yeah.
What I do now, because I've been doing this for 40 years, I've got all the processes already built out.
Yeah.
I send them, and it's just like I did to Ben this morning. So I sent him our service process and I sent him our parts process. And I said, so Ben, I want you to think about this. This is kind of like a Betty Crocker cake mix.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a white cake mix. Your job is to take my process, meet with your service advisor. They don't have a service manager. They have a service advisor, smaller dealership. And Vanessa, who's your parts manager, I want you to give those to each of them. I want you to have them go through that and highlight or mark anything out that they don't feel like works or that they don't feel like's right. And then at the end of the day, sit down with them and say, okay, let's go through and see how bad Bob's processes were screwed up and how they won't work for us. And so I gave them a lot of it already.
Yeah.
Right. But if I didn't, I mean, I had to do, well, you did it the same way. I mean, when you're out doing with dealerships, you had a process at every dealership you went into. It had to be a little bit different, because no two shops are exactly the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and we got another comment that came in on LinkedIn, and it says process improvement starts with changing the management first. And I think that is very crucial, because as a owner, right, if you can buy in 100%, but if your management doesn't buy in, then you don't have anybody to monitor the process, because your management needs to then flow down to all of their employees under them and allow them to build that process altogether.
Well, they do, but this is the other thing I think that people forget. There's a lot of people called managers. Okay. And I always tell my managers that I consult with, you're only a manager for a very small part of the day.
Yeah.
A manager's job in the world that we play in, and I would say any world out there, a manager's job is to create processes.
Yeah.
That's your job. That's the only job you have as a manager, to build out processes. Once you have the processes built out, you're no longer a manager. You now become a coach.
Yeah.
And so your job as a manager shifts from being a manager, and a manager does nothing but manage processes, to a coach. And then your job as a coach is to coach your people to your process.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, I think a lot of people say, well, I'm a manager of people. You don't manage people. That's like saying that you can actually control a cat.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You can control a dog,
Yeah.
but you can't control a cat. People are like cats. They're going to kind of do whatever they want to do. Your job, again, is to manage the process, coach the people.
Yeah.
Train the people to do your process. And again, I think that then the other problem is I was talking with Ben, he says, well, I've told this person a couple times to do this way. And I said, well, the mistake that you also make as a coach is thinking, if I just tell a player one time to do something one time, that they're going to remember how to do it. And that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
The average person forgets. Think about this. The average person forgets 85% of everything they were told one time.
Yeah.
So if I tell you something one time, 85% of everything I told you, you're going to forget within 48 hours. And I've got managers out there that say, well, how many times do I have to tell them? And I go, I don't know. How many times did your teacher in elementary school go over your multiplication tables so that you learned them? Yeah. And I used to do this. I said, so 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, 8 times 8 is 64, 12 times 12 is 144. Then I say, so what's 13 times 12? 156. And I go, how come you didn't just do it like that? And he goes like, well, we stopped at 12. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's the point. You learn through repetition. Human beings learn through repetition. That's how we're taught in school. That's how you have to teach employees. And if you think you're going to teach an employee to do something in one setting and have them remember it, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You just can't. When I do workshops, I try to cover like 3 or 4 points, maybe in a day.
Yeah.
But I cover them in many different ways so that I make sure that when people leave my workshops, they've heard conceptually the same thing, maybe 3 or 4 different times, because you got visuals, auditories, and kinesthetics. You have to play with the different learning styles. But my goal again is not to have you know 1,000 things that you're going to forget in 48 hours.
Yeah.
I need you to have 3 or 4 key concepts that we have focused on for the last maybe 3 or 4 hours in fun ways, in different interactive ways and things like this. But I need you to walk away from the workshop to make sure that it was a good investment with knowledge.
Yeah.
And the only way you gain knowledge is through repetition.
Yeah. Well, or you drink Nutcase because it helps your brain health.
It does.
And then I'm
going to go back to the Japanese.
I just finished the Japanese strawberry. It was delicious and I couldn't stop drinking it. But it's again, you have to repeat the processes and you have to build a process that is repeatable.
Exactly.
Right? And I think one of the things, and this was a comment that was on LinkedIn prior to us even starting this, is if you make processes over complex, complexity is the enemy of consistency.
Exactly.
And so you cannot well, this is everything that I have to do. Okay. What you do is different than what you need your employee to do. Build out a process that is repeatable. I mean, you tell the story about McDonald's French fries.
Well, yeah.
That is a perfect example of a process.
So I always tell dealers, when McDonald's got to a point where they said, okay, we look at our workforce and said, okay, our workforce is getting maybe less and less skilled and less educated, whatever. But they recognize, okay, this is who my workforce is going to be. So what McDonald's did was not hope they got better employees, and not saying again, McDonald's employees are bad. They're not. But again, what they had to do was say, look, if we're not going to get better employees or smarter employees or whatever you want to use, I don't want to denigrate anybody that works at McDonald's because they do a great job giving me my quarter pounder with cheese and fries. So, but I'm just saying again, so they looked at it and said, okay, we have to refine our processes. We have to make our processes simpler. So when Bob, the new guy, comes in at a McDonald's, they say, Bob, you're going to be in charge of cooking fries.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to go like, well, I don't know how to cook fries. It's no problem, Bob, because we just need you to follow this process.
Yeah.
So the first thing you have to do, Bob, is you have to identify where the freezer is. And our freezers are upright. They look a lot like a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Okay. And you'll know they're a freezer because when you put your hand on them, they'll be really cold. Okay. So go with me now. And there's three things here. Tell me which one you think's the freezer.
Yeah.
That's the freezer. I
Yeah.
go, very good, Bob.
Perfect.
You got it.
You got it.
Okay.
Nailed
now,
it.
You nailed it. Okay. You got the freezer thing down. Now we're going to open the freezer up, and inside of the freezer, you're going to see a big brown bag that has a picture on it that looks like a French fry. Okay. Because that's what's in the bag, Bob, French fries. Okay. So I'm going to have you open the freezer up and you tell me which of those bags are French fries. And Bob pulls it out and he's like, that's it. And I go,
Yeah.
you got it, Bob.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now you've got 2 steps of the process.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing you're going to do, Bob, is we have a big burning cauldron of oil over here. We call a deep fryer.
Yeah.
Don't put your hand in it.
Yeah, it's hot.
Okay. It's hot, really hot. Now, what I want you to do is take that bag, and that bag is the exact same amount of bag that you're going to need to fill both of those baskets in there. So you're going to take the bag and you're going to put about half of the bag in one of those baskets that's setting up.
Yeah.
And you're going to put the other half of the bag in the other basket. Okay. And now you got that. So you think you can do that, Bob? Sure, I didn't. So go ahead and show me, Bob, how that works. I open up the bag. I put half of them close to, and I go, is that close enough? Close enough. Right. The oil, the boiler, the fryer doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I put the other half over there. Now what I want you to do, Bob, is push that button there. And that button says baskets down.
Yeah.
Push the button and see what happens. Well, the baskets go down. That's why we have it basket down button. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the baskets go in there. And the moment that happens, a timer starts.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to do anything. A timer starts. And those fries are going to set in there. And then there's going to be a point where this timer is going to go off and it's going to make a sound that God himself cannot ignore.
Yeah.
And the moment you hear that, you're going to go do what? Push the basket up button. You got it, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now you got the baskets up. The fries are cooked exactly right because we had mechanics doing all this stuff. Now what I need you to do, Bob, is I need you to take a basket one at a time, dump them over here in this beautiful stainless steel thing, and I have a shaker in it. And in that shaker, Bob, is all the seasoning we put on fries. We used to have a shaker for each seasoning. We found it too complicated, Bob.
Yeah.
So now we just have them all in one shaker.
Yeah.
And I want you to shake that over the fries. On both of them. And Bob, at that point, you have mastered the art of cooking fries.
You were a master fry cook.
I'm now a master fry
Yeah.
cook. That's how simple the process needs to be. Now, it doesn't need to be that simple for everybody, but McDonald's is going, if I hired somebody that couldn't even read,
Yeah.
okay, you don't even need to be able to read
Absolutely.
to be a master fry cook at McDonald's.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to follow the process.
Well, and that's what I think that most businesses overlook. They go, well, this is such a simple process. Why do I need a documented process for this? It was the same thing like when I was in shops all the time. Why do we need to label all of our clipboards? Well, because it makes it, everyone knows, everyone's on the same play.
Exactly.
Everyone knows what everyone's supposed to do. And when you can simplify it, it takes a complex system, makes it easy, makes it manageable,
Right.
and makes it repeatable for everybody in your business.
Yeah. Well, that's the key. Again, like you said, a process is about creating repeatability.
Yeah.
Okay. That we can measure.
Yeah.
You know, and we measure it knowing what winning looks like. And I think, again, that would be a challenge for a lot of business owners when you say, well, gosh, I want to grow my business. Well, what does that look like? What does winning look like?
Yeah.
You know, if you're selling compact utility tractors, I want to sell more tractors. Well, okay, we all want to sell more tractors, but how many more? What would that look like? What kind of gross profit margin went on? I think an owner's job, Brian, is to define winning.
Yeah.
And then say, okay, I know what this is winning, right? Now I got to build a process that when I follow the process, it ends up with this result, which I know is winning.
Yeah.
Now I got to take and find the people or take my people and train them to follow the process, because if they follow the process, I ultimately get a win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really that simple.
Absolutely.
Right. So again, I think that's the challenge that a lot of business owners that struggle in business have never defined what winning looks like.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they said, well, everybody should know, Bob, it's about making more money. Well, how much more money?
Yeah.
You know, and it's about selling more gross revenue or having more gross profit.
Yeah.
Because I tell people, you don't pay bills with gross revenue, you pay bills with gross profit.
Yeah.
I don't care what your gross revenue is. This is what I need in gross profit.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think that's the piece of it. But again, it's the businesses that struggle have not clearly defined what winning looks like in each one of the aspects of their business. I mean, you know, we always laugh about the folks that have the honey cart up in Liberty
absolutely.
up there. You know, they know what winning looks like. You know, I guarantee you that they know, you know, for us to have had a successful farmer's market, we needed to sell this much honey.
Yeah.
Okay. And because that's what winning looks like. Well, how do we do that? Well, we have to get more people to try our honey.
Yeah.
Well, how do we do that? Right. Well, we need to be out on the sidewalk out there giving samples of really cool honey, or in this case, nutcase, giving samples and doing things like this. And people go like, oh my God, this is great. And then that's how you end up selling more things. So I don't know. I mean, I just don't think it's that complicated. I like that people think it's complicated because it keeps me in work, but it's just, I still don't think it's that complicated. I think, again, it goes back to owners have to get rid of their ego.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're not going to know everything, and things are constantly changing around you. You have to be willing to adapt to that, define winning, create a process, coach your people to the process, and winning will happen.
Absolutely.
I mean, to me, it's that simple.
So, Bob, as we're kind of closing this out, someone is listening right now.
That's good.
Yes, I know.
That's actually kind of exciting.
It is. Yeah.
Somebody listening.
So someone is listening right now who knows their business needs this and has been putting it off. One sentence, what do you tell them?
Start today. I mean, just go back and pick a department that you think is underperforming, whatever it is, and whether it's in a dealership or whatever it is, and say, okay, so I'm going to take this department and I'm going to say, okay, for me to feel like this is winning, this is what it looks like. And then you have to go back and say, okay, have I taught my people that? Do I have the process in place? So to me, it's pick one thing. You're not going to fix everything all at once. Pick one that to me is maybe the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you an example. Let's say, like, guys, we need to increase our part sales.
Yeah.
I'd say that's great. So how are we going to do that? Say, well, what I need to do is I need to have all my parts people make a recommendation to try to upsell something.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So how much do we need to upsell? Well, if we had everybody that's at the parts counter ask people to say, hey, since you bought a filter, have you thought about oil? Or since you bought a bearing, have you thought about grease? Or if you got grease out there, have you thought about how you're going to get it back off your hands when you're doing it there?
Yeah.
So come up with something that you can do as an upsell, right, from that standpoint, and just focus on that. So that's going to be your process. At the end of every conversation with a customer, before they check out, I want you to ask one question. Have you thought about this?
Yeah.
30% of the people you ask that question to will buy from you.
Yeah.
You'll increase your part sales at the counter by 30% if you just simply make a recommendation and ask if somebody would want it. That's where I would start. Don't make it complicated.
Yeah.
Right? Find a simple thing to do. Same thing at the service desk. If somebody comes in and say, well, somebody came in for service, I want to find one other thing that we can make a recommendation that they need to do to increase my dollar value of that service. Same thing at the parts counter. That's not hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I could find 1,000 things. If somebody brought a tractor in for a 200-hour service, I could find several things, maybe not 1,000, that I can say, hey, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't really need that. That's fine. I just wanted to bring it up. 30% of the people, if you ask them, have they thought about it? 30% of the people say, I haven't. I'm glad you brought it up. I want that. 70% of the people say, I'm not interested. If I increase my labor sales, upsells by 30%, I add a ton to my business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that a simple enough answer?
That was simple enough. And again, it that applies to every business. It doesn't matter if you're the honey stand. It doesn't matter if you're nutcase. It doesn't matter.
One, you shouldn't buy just one type.
No, you've got to get all the flavors.
You got to get all the flavors.
You got to get all the flavors. It is worth the investment.
There's not a bad one that I've had.
Oh, I know. My problem is that I just kind of want to sit here and continue to drink them and drink them and drink them. But then that becomes a very not engaging podcast. But the reality of it is, the businesses that survive the longest aren't always the ones with the best ideas. They're not always the ones that are cutting edge. They're the ones who create consistent, reliable, repeatable processes. And I would encourage you, if you're struggling with processes, if you're struggling with just something in general in business, reach out to us. We do check our email every single day. Well, I check it every single day.
I do not.
I look at all of my LinkedIn
you
messages.
Send me an email if I need to answer.
Yes, I will.
That.
But I check all my LinkedIn messages. I check all of our Facebook, our Instagram, TikTok. I check all of that. And I do respond to anybody who asks me a question when it comes to business. I do not respond to all of the people who go, hey, congratulations on your 1-year anniversary with Unplugged and Filtered. Do you need a CPA? Do you need this? It's like, as soon as I connect with someone, I'm getting an advertisement, and it gets a little tiring. But with that, we are going to cut it off right here. We're going to be done, but I do have to shout out again, Joe at Nutcase, Ninja.
Awesome.
Phil, you guys have created an incredible product. I'm happy to be drinking it, and we will definitely continue to promote you guys. And this is not a paid promotion. We're not getting paid by them to do this. It was just something that I've seen it. We had to try it. And looking for something a little bit healthier to drink than regular chocolate milk or tequila. Yeah, it's a little awkward to be drinking tequila at 12 o'clock.
For all those people in Texas, it's not awkward.
No, no.
Texas goes, actually, that's our lunch.
That is,
tequila at lunch.
So, but with that, I appreciate you all. We're here live every single week. Unplugged, Unfiltered. Next week, we will have a fun episode. I've got quite a few things planned. And then we have some awesome guests. As you guys continue to share this out, as you guys like these, as you guys subscribe to all of our stuff, it gives us the ability to expand our guest list. And we've got some really incredible guests. We've got one, hopefully potential guest that will come up soon who has played football. He would understand.
He would understand the plays.
He would understand.
He's played at a very high level.
He has. And we're Pro Bowl. Yeah. Super Bowl winner. Super excited to expand our guest list and bring you guys different content all the time. And if you guys have a thought, if you guys have a episode that you want to see or you want to get our opinion on,
or that you never want to see again,
please
do not do the one thing that Bob finds in every failing business.
Yes.
Again.
But we probably won't listen to you, but we will do our best. So with that, you guys all have a good rest of your afternoon. Hope everyone had a safe Memorial Day weekend and are off to a good week this week. So we'll catch you guys next week right here on Unplugged Unfiltered.
Thanks, everybody.
Never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now. Waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When words is where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory.